It seems like the bourbon market gets crazier by the day. So here's 7 bourbons I still think are absolutely worth your money. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So as you are, I am sure, intimately aware, the bourbon market is kind of crazy these days. There's so much coming out that is new at very different price points. You'll see a 4-year whiskey at $30 and you'll see other 4-year whiskey at $65. Then there's just the fact that prices overall are rising with inflation and the economy. And the question just for the consumer is the whiskey I'm buying in front of me worth it? I know for sure I've stood in the aisle at the liquor store debating whether or not to get a bottle that's, $50 to $60, just having really no idea whether or not it's good, trying to do research. So I wanted to create a list of 7 bourbons that I think are absolutely worth your money so that when you go out, you feel totally assured that these are going to be fantastic buys for you. Hopefully this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with the list by the end of the list. Without further ado, let's dive into some really fantastic whiskeys that are absolutely worth their price point. So the way we're going to do this is start with the lowest priced item on the list and we'll work our way up to the highest priced. But again, each of these along the way will be worth the money in my opinion. So to start with the lowest, this is relatively widely available. In some spots it can be harder to find, but is a really great bottle that I recommend to a lot of people, and that is Cooper's Craft Barrel Reserve. So this is the 100 proof version. There's also an 80 or 86 proof version that I've heard isn't quite as good. I've never tried it, but this one, the 100 proof version, is really, really awesome. If you're a fan of like early times bottled in bond, if you like some of those slightly more like double oaked or sweeter profiles like Woodford Reserve double oaked or Old Forester 1910, this is another great option and it's very cheap at $30. So highly recommend checking out Cooper's Craft, just a well-balanced, really good sweet bourbon. Next on the list, we've got a classic that has stayed pretty steady in terms of price point and continues to be a great introduction to single barrels, and that is Four Roses single barrel. So as you can tell, this is empty. Probably do need to go out and replace this. I've given this as gifts to others on multiple occasions. It is a, I believe, 100 proof, 100 proof whiskey that is available for around $45 pretty much everywhere. Might tend toward 50 in certain areas, but for sure a classic bottle. Great presentation, very beautiful, and it's just got those classic bourbon flavors with some caramel, vanilla, some spice, that little bit of floralness from the Four Roses that you come to expect and love. Just a bottle that never disappoints. Next on the list is a newbie from a distillery that has just continued to impress me, and that is Bardstown Bourbon Company's Bottled in Bond Wheated. So this is part of their new Origin Series lineup. To be honest, all 3 of the releases are really good. They've also got a high rye bourbon and a rye whiskey, which is finished in some interesting barrels with cherry wood. But this Bottled in Bond Wheated at $50, soon to be available in many, many states. Hopefully it's available near you because man, it's phenomenal. It's like pastries and bakery notes with some black cherry and strong wheat presence here as well. Nice and sweet. Man, it's so good, and for $50, I am struggling right now to find a better value out there in terms of great whiskey. Although when it comes to great whiskey, the next bottle has been a classic for a long time and probably does give this Bottled in Bond Wheated a run for its money, and that is Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Another one of those safe bet options for around $50, sometimes tending toward $55, but if you see it on a deal, you might see it for $45. This barrel strength option, I think it's 116.8 proof. In fact, I know it is. It is really, really good. Packed full of cinnamon and baking spices and brown sugar and vanilla. Like, if you're looking for a barrel proof starter option, this is where I point people. In fact, if you're looking for something to bring to a party where you know there's going to be some people who really love whiskey, this is going to amp up the flavors. It's great for after a meal when you still want something to punch you in the face. Man, it's just so versatile and so good. And at $50, you might not even feel that bad putting it in a cocktail to give it extra punch. Just a classic bourbon that you can never go wrong, and you will never be disappointed if you have one of these on your shelves. Next is another bottle that gets high praise across the board, and you'll see that's a trend here. We're looking for bottles that we just guarantee are going to be phenomenal. And the next one is Old Forester 1920. So for around $60, which takes you into that middling tier of you're spending a good amount of money, but you're looking for a great whiskey, this fits the bill. 115 proof, great balance. This has got brown sugar for days. It's got a little bit of a banana note, but it's also got vanilla, cherry, and oak. This is classic bourbon. This is well-balanced, phenomenal across the board. If you've got a whiskey connoisseur and a newbie to whiskey, both of them are going to sip this and be like, okay, that is dang good stuff. And again, you are just never going to regret having 1920 be one of your $60 purchases. All right, for the last two bottles, we're going to step it up in price point a little bit. We're going to go into those territories where you rightfully hesitate a little bit before buying a bottle and you really deliberate, is this worth the extra price point? For me, both of these bottles absolutely are, and they give me confidence in these distilleries going forward. So the first is Barrel Vantage. So this was the particular release for 2022, the new staple added to the barrel lineup, though I do want to basically encompass any of the new barrel craft spirit releases, especially the kind of unique ones they do with finishes. They did the Seagrass Rye in 2021, and then Barrel Vantage in 2022. Looking forward to what 2023 has to offer. But for $90, which is quite, a significant price point, and you're looking for something phenomenal, I just think everything Barrel does is an attempt to actually add value. There's not really marketing gimmicks. They're trying to put together great blends. They're trying to put together great finishes for you. They do a lot of different stuff. They are pushing the envelope, and I have not had anything from them that I have been disappointed in yet. So it gives me great confidence to recommend to you. If you haven't tried Barrel Craft Spirits, because they do have a little bit more of an expensive price point, I highly recommend maybe even starting with this Vantage, because I know this is a really, really good release. All right, had to move these bottles down a little bit to make room for our last and significantly more expensive release. But again, I totally think this is worth the money for you if you go out and buy it. And that is Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series. So I've got Discovery Series number 8, which was one of my favorite whiskeys of all of 2022. And I totally understand hesitating for a $140 price point. That is a significant amount of money to spend on anything, really, let alone something that disappears and you never get back once you drink it. For sure, I have those thoughts too. And this has just defied my expectations and been so good, and a bottle I absolutely cherish. And I don't regret any single cent of that $140. It is really, really good whiskey. They do phenomenal things. Obviously, with Bardstown having 2 things on this list, you can tell I just have come to trust their distillery and their releases. So looking forward to more stuff from them in the future. And again, if you feel like you're hesitating to cross that $100 threshold to get up into these $130, $140 releases, I think Bardstown Bourbon Company's Discovery Series across the board has been one that just rarely disappoints and often is an absolute hitter. All right, everybody, that's my list of 7 bourbons. I guess some of these are kind of blends, so 7 whiskeys that absolutely I think are worth the money. If you bought any of these, I don't think you would be disappointed. And these are all bottles that gave me lots of confidence in different distilleries and lots of, credibility to those distilleries in terms of producing great products, even if they are highly priced. Let me know what you think of the list. What would you put on your own list? What bottles are you absolutely, recommending to others and you think are totally worth the buy? Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, hopefully whiskey that is a total bang for your buck, and cheers.